Hey, what's up, Street Talks? The Eric from the Eric Street Photography blog. So, I want to give you guys some encouragement in terms of why you need to follow your own voice in photography. So, the purpose of this video is to encourage you that there's only one of you, and there's only one of you with your certain life experiences, the way you see the world, and it's essentially pointless for you to look at what other people are doing in their photography and for you to either mimic them or try to follow their own path. It's important and essential for you to follow your own path in photography because there's no one else out there in the world who sees the way you see. And too often than not, we let genres, categories, and definitions get in the way of our photography. So, for example, my biggest passion in life is probably street photography, and I think I've let this concept or this definition of street photography define me too much because once you start Googling street photography and studying the history of street photography, you see how other people have shot street photography in the past, and you feel like that's the way you have to shoot. So, for example, like even Henri Cartier-Bresson, black and white, shot Leica film, 50 mil, decisive moment type street photography, and he essentially was a tyrant. He's like, I shot street photography like this, or I shot photography like this, thus everyone else has to shoot the way I do. But in reality, if you want to pave your own path in photography, you essentially need to creatively isolate yourself from other people, and you need to spend some time just following your own voice. And it's really tough because when it comes to following your own voice, you essentially don't ask other people for their approval or their opinion or their feedback because often when we're sharing our photos or asking people for feedback, we essentially just want a pat on the back or to get acknowledgement from other people that we're doing the right thing or we're going the right direction. But if you're paving a new path or you're following your own voice, you don't really know what direction you're going to. You're just following your gut, you're following your intuition. And if you're going on a new path that no one else has gone before, everyone's going to be thinking you're a little crazy, or they just might not understand what you're doing, or you might not even understand what you're doing. So even when I decided that I wanted to do street photography for a living and do workshops and stuff like that, everyone thought I was crazy. Like, there's no way you could make street photography a career because no one ever did it before. Because if no one has something to compare something with, there's no precedent set for. So the world hadn't had a person who just did street photography workshops for a living, then of course it's going to seem impossible to do. But then essentially, I just took a small risk. I said, okay, no one else has done it before, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm not going to let the fact that no one else has tried prevent me from seeing if it could work for me. And I just went out and I did it, and it seemed to work out fine for me. Now, it's not to mean that I'm that much smarter or more skilled than anyone else. It's that maybe I just have a slightly bigger appetite for risk. And also, of course, I work hard. Even now, I work, essentially from when I wake up to when I sleep, essentially working like 10, 12-hour days every single day when I'm not eating or doing stretches or working out. Essentially, I'm just working. So even now, one of the practical tips I give is the harder you work and the more effort you put in, the more likely you are to succeed. There's, of course, no guarantees of success, and ultimately you define success for yourself. So even when I decided to delete my Instagram, it was a really interesting and fun challenge because I had to find new novel ways for me to share my work. So I started to share more of my photos, like photo diaries, to my blog, where I'm uploading like 100 photos in one blog post. And I'm also starting to learn how to make my own beats in GarageBand and sharing my photos as slideshows, and that's been really fun. And so when it comes to your own style, don't define yourself, don't put labels on yourself. So let's say even street photography is your passion. Don't call yourself a street photographer, just call yourself a photographer, call yourself a visual artist, and don't let categories or genres define you. Essentially just create a new category for yourself because there is no one else in the world like you. And also when it comes to following your own voice, I know it's kind of scary, but just have faith in yourself because when you're sharing your photos with others, you either want two things. One, people to say they like your work, or two, to get feedback on why they don't like your work and what you could do to improve. But once again, if you're paving a new path, you need to kind of creatively isolate yourself. So even a practical suggestion is delete Facebook or Instagram from your phone for, a month and just see what happens. Spend a month not sharing any of your photos with anybody else and see is that going to change the way you share your photos, or is it going to change the way you see the world? Is it going to change the type of photos you shoot? Because we all know the type of photos which are going to get lots of likes on Instagram. It's like, nice black and white photo with symmetry and decisive moment, nice light. But is that the real photographic vision you have inherent within yourself, that you could create some sort of new innovation or genre? So once again, spend some time to just follow your own voice, to reflect on what's important for you in photography, and realize that, yeah, you have a special gift and you have this wonderful talent and vision to share with the rest of the world. Don't let anyone else water it down your vision. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace out.